All right, welcome to my first POV ride. Been having a lot of fun editing all of the videos for the kind of Rindo series I've been doing, but thought it would be fun to just show an unedited version of one of the rides here. So starting off on the river path here, we're about to hop off, short little bit, and start heading out to the first climb. This is the backyard loop that I did in a previous video. You can see, I'll link it somewhere, up there, down there, somewhere. Still figuring that whole thing out. And yeah, so the idea of this ride is basically kind of our favorite loop to do if you've got 2 or less hours to ride. It's maybe 40 kilometers on the dot, 700 meters a gain or so, and it comes in 3 climbs. And yeah, just gets out to nice quiet roads like this real fast. So this first 2 or 3 kilometers here is a bit of a false flat out to the first climb. First climb coming up is called the Shear Pass. It means white leaf. And it's kind of our closest hill we can do. It gains about 150 meters or so. And usually takes a good 5-10 minutes to get out to it. So works really well for a warm-up on most of our rides because you can kind of spin easy leading out to it, do a good 5-minute effort, get the legs moving, and get a nice little descent afterwards and be warmed up for the rest of the day out in the mountains. It's a couple flatter ways to get out as well, but I really like this pass because it's really, really untraveled by cars, and just some of the most fantastic scenery so close to home. It's finally starting to get nice and warm in the mornings here. Got the flowers coming out in everyone's gardens. So it's finally hitting short sleeves weather, which is really awesome because we had a bit of a weird spring so far. It kind of got warm in March towards the end, and then like last week of March and first week of April, it was actually really cold, surprisingly. So it's kind of since warmed up and we're headed towards proper spring weather here. Rice fields are just starting to sprout a little bit in some of these valleys. Starting to hear some of the animals come back out, the frogs and the birds. Yeah, that was basically the main road. Now we're off onto the beginning of the Shear Abba Pass. Starts in this little neighborhood here. And then the official segment, or the official climb, starts another kilometer or so as we cross a bridge coming up. From there, you kind of head right into the forest, and you've got the full climb. I think my best time at this point is about 4.5 minutes up it, but usually on a normal day, I'm aiming for more like 5-6 minutes. Save something in the tank for later. Oh, thanks, Garmin. My performance condition is -2 fair, whatever that means. Recently switched over to this Garmin 530, and it's got this funny, whoever programmed it, I don't know. I wouldn't have chosen the vocabulary they used for it. For example, if you go out and do a ride that it thinks was a good ride for you at the moment, it'll say productive at the end of it. But if you go out and do a ride that it doesn't think was a good ride for you at the moment, was like too hard, it'll say unproductive, which just feels bad to tell somebody who just went out and did a workout that they were unproductive. I mean, I get the idea. You went a little too hard, but maybe there's some better vocabulary they could have used. A little harder than it should have been. Something else. A little bit of cross chain. Love the smells this time of year. All the flowers blooming, trees with new leaves. Yep, so this bridge here is the beginning of the climb, where the segment starts. All right. Ohayou gozaimasu. Can you hear the frogs? This is a nice little relief after the first part of the climb. Yeah, this is kind of the essence of the riding out here, these types of forest roads. Just 10 minutes from town, you're out into these quiet, peaceful roads. You seldom see cars. They have pretty good to really good pavement sometimes. And you can feel almost like you're hiking, just being immersed in the nature, the animal sounds around. It can be really tranquil. You might be wondering why they even built these roads. A lot of them are for logging purposes. You can see here a section that they cut away recently. So the roads remain relatively unused when they're not cutting or planting new trees on them. And it's probably part of the reason that they stay in such good condition like this. Basically nobody using them except every couple years when they have to come through and log a section or plant a new section. And then you've got the occasional hikers that'll drive out, park on the side of the road, and then go on the hiking trails around here. Probably like this guy here. Ooh, wasn't paying attention. Getting a little distracted with the scenery here. And here's the top. All right, first climb down, little descent into the valley next door. So yeah, these forest roads can be a bit narrow at times, so it's always good to be looking ahead and leaving room in case you have something oncoming. Even though they're not used much by cars, It's not to say there aren't cars that use it. So you just want to leave that extra room, especially when descending. One really nice thing they do though is they put these mirrors up in the corners here. Most of Japan does it as a safety precaution, so you can kind of see around the corner. So like as we come up to this corner here, and just as I say that, it's the one corner with that one, eh? But yeah, a lot of the corners here, they'll put these mirrors up if you can't see around it. Here's one. So yeah, nice. You can kind of just keep your eye on the mirror as you're coming around the corner, and once you've cleared it, hook your head around. But I like to always just kind of stay left as much as possible. Take it at a gentle enough speed that you know you can come to a full stop should you see something coming head on. Oh, look at these wisteria. I'm really excited about the next couple weeks here. The wisteria will start hitting full bloom and these mountain roads are just going to be covered in purples. And that's the Shear Abba Pass. Oh, what a day. Just fantastic spring weather. Blue skies, fluffy clouds starting, green mountains. So the second climb, it's a bit more gradual. So that first one was probably 7% or so. This one goes up to the Inoko tunnel. It means little boar like a pig. So yeah, this climb is maybe 7K or so long. I might be off on that, but it's a much more gradual climb. It's probably 3% average or so here as you wind up this river valley. And the last like kilometer or so is picks up the incline a little. But this is a really good example of just kind of a classic countryside valley here in Japan. You have one main road running through, farm fields, a couple houses dotting the roads, and really low traffic. Kind of the only time of day you usually see a lot of traffic out here is during your commuter hours on weekdays. So we're talking like 7 to 8:30 a.m. and then again at like 5 to 6 p.m. or so. Even then it's not bad. But if you avoid those hours, it's usually empty roads like this out here. The occasional car going by or cyclists. This area is really popular for cyclists, and a lot of the people who live in the local towns here know how awesome the riding is just in their backyards. So especially on the weekends or on national holidays, these roads will be full of cyclists. It's gonna be pretty cool. A little bit of construction right here. Last summer, well, beginning of fall really, there was a really big typhoon that came through, Typhoon Hagibis. I think on a lot of points it was actually the largest typhoon to hit Japan on record. Just dropped a crazy amount of rain in some places. You know, one of the towns out near Mount Fuji where it was hit the worst, at least rainfall wise, they received like a meter of rain in 24 hours, which is just an absurd amount when you think about it. But out here, we were relatively okay from it. It had to go through a lot of mountains and land to reach us. But just down the rivers from us, about 2-3 towns down, there were a couple levees that broke and some pretty big flooding in some of the farm fields and neighborhoods. So some of our mountain roads have some damage on them, like back there. And a couple of them are still washed out to the point where you can't go across, but they've largely repaired all of them at this point. I think there's only like two or three of them that still need repair to the point where you can't cross it at the moment. I know one of our favorites that passes over to the valley, the major valley, the Watarase Valley, next to us, still, one of the passes still has a pretty big landslide across it. So hopefully they'll have that cleaned up pretty soon. I know the schedules I've been seeing for the construction have said they're going to have most of the construction done by May, which is usually their timeline they're trying to work on, because come June, July, it gets pretty rainy here. So I'd imagine construction gets pretty difficult to do. So hopefully they'll have those up and running by this fall. But if not, we've got a lot of other alternative roads that are just as great to ride on. Oh, I wonder if some people are at the ropes course today. See. This is that last bit that gets a little steep. For the last couple hundred meters. Nope. This little ropes course over here. I can only think of like one time I've seen people playing on it. Figured with all the cars parked there might be people today, but I guess they're out hiking or something. There's the top. This road summit's just before the tunnel. There we are, Unoko Tunnel. Whew. 2 down, 1 to go. Love this descent now. It's great on a hot day to enter a tunnel. It's always a little bit cooler. But recently they put these new lights in the tunnel. It's bright LEDs, so now you can ride through it with your sunglasses on and still see everything. Which is great. It used to be a little bit dark in here at times. Yeah, this section's a ton of fun to go down. Built these nice little turns coming up on the way down here. Oh yeah. Whew, that is always a fun descent. All right, back in action. So yeah, those first 2 climbs gain maybe 150 meters each or so. This next one is about 350 meters. Yeah. Wow, look at these flowers. Just awesome. Yeah, so this next one, about 350 meters. Starts in this town of Matsuda here. I have this little run up to the climb, about 1 kilometer or 2. And then there's a hard right on the road that leads up to the Matsuda Dam. And then you take another right onto the small forest road, which usually from that point, again, you're pretty far off the beaten path. I mean, I've even had people come here on trips and tell me that they didn't believe they were supposed to go up that road because it looked so small. Looks more like someone's driveway. That's kind of the beauty of the roads here, is that some of the best ones are so small and hidden, the drivers are rarely ever on them. So yeah, this main road here is leading out to the dam. You get a decent amount of traffic out to the dam. There's a nice park out there and full of cherry blossoms and really pretty, just a pretty area to hang out. People camp there, barbecues, all of that. So it can get pretty bumping during the weekends and holidays, that's for sure. I love when these are on the roads like this. Look at all the petals. So yeah, the cherry blossoms are well past gone at our home, but they're still blooming out in the mountains. All right. So left there leads to the dam. We're gonna hook a right, and this is kind of the beginning of the official climb. The Nagishitoge, or Long Rock Pass. All right, this is the turn I was talking about. Main road goes left there to the dam, but this is our pass. So yeah, this pass is about, well, the records are somewhere around 12 minutes, 13 minutes, I think, for bottom to top. I'm usually pretty happy if I can be anywhere from 15 to 20, depending on how hard I'm going that day, how much equipment I'm carrying. This is kind of the main pass in the area that cyclists can kind of gauge each other on. If you're trying to understand about how fast someone climbs, this is usually the one people are referencing. Their time's up. It's about 8.5% average to the top, but there's 2 relief points along the way, and so it really means the spots that aren't the reliefs, they're probably closer to 10%. But yeah, you can't beat the scenery in here. I mean, the dappled forest lighting, the mossy sidewalls, got the sounds of the streams and the birds. Again, you can use these mirrors here. I think that's my seat. This little squeak sound lately. Maybe it's a cleat. There's a nice water tap over there, fresh spring water. Sometimes on the weekends, you'll see people who drove up here with these huge tanks to fill their tanks and bring it home. Rather than having the tap water, some people like to grab the natural spring water in the area and drink that at their homes. So peaceful. All right, here's the first little false flat. Get some relief. Whew. Gotta get this heart rate down a little bit. Oh, gotta ride her up. Ohayou gozaimasu. All right, a little relief right here. So a lot of people ask me when they're coming to Japan, they're gonna bring their own bike. What kind of tires do you wanna run? What type of gearing? And it really depends on where you're going in Japan. But around here, as you can see, these forest roads tend to have pretty good pavement overall. But there'll be spots where there's a little bit of debris, usually a center strip like this, where the cars don't drive. So you tend to have two really nice lanes, but we tend to find that running too light of a tire, you'll get too many flats out here, just running over the random pine cone or tree branch that might have fallen, twig I should say. And yeah, so personally, I've had really good success out here with the Pan Racer Gravel Kings. They're not nearly as racy as, say, a Continental GP 4,000 or 5,000 tire, but they're most of the way there. They got a nice bit of tread on them, but they still feel really fast on the smooth roads. More importantly, they have a really nice sidewall protection, because as much as I love the Continental tires, they really blow out the sidewalls too often, in my opinion. Usually when you're cornering, you hit a small rock or something, you get a gash that's hard to even boot sometimes. And you don't want that when you're out here in these roads pretty far from town. So I also find that running about a 28 mil or a 32 mil is kind of ideal. You definitely don't need any bigger. The roads are certainly smooth enough. A lot of people run 25s or even 23s out here. But my big thing is, with the 28 mils, you basically have a tire that is definitely wider than all of the rain grates, like this coming up right here. So those rain grates are right around 25 mil of width. And again, you do your best to go over them nice and perpendicular, but inevitably there's gonna be times you don't, or you just hit it the wrong way. And if you have a 23 mil tire, and that has a chance of getting caught in there when you're descending, that's no good. So we run all 28 mils or larger here, 28s to 32s. And yeah, it's a really small weight penalty to pay for a lot more of an enjoyable ride. You can also run it at lower pressure, so you get a lot better kind of shock absorption when things get rougher. And as for gearing, it's not uncommon here in Japan to see 10% plus gradients, and to see ones that honestly go on for maybe even a couple kilometers. So I really, really recommend when people come to consider some serious climbing gearing, especially if you're gonna do a multi-day tour. I mean, you might enjoy riding your full crank up front, your 39, 53, and then a 28 in the back because it's nice and light. But nobody ever complains they have too many granny gears. And the extra 100 grams it's going to cost you to put a 34 on the back and go to a compact, it's really worth it here. I mean, heck, I'm in a 34 right now, compact up front, doing pretty much my FTP efforts on a lot of this. Just trying to keep the cadence up over 60. So yeah, I really recommend going 34 in the rear, compact up front if you can, or even less. Some of our other bikes we run a 32th up front with a 34 in the rear, giving you a less than 1-to-1 ratio. Or on my touring bike, I'll actually run an 1140 in the rear with a mountain bike rear derailleur to get that extra gear. And again, you're usually fine 1 or 2 days, but if you have day after day of steep efforts with fatigue setting in, it's a lot better to be able to spin up the climbs when you feel like spinning than to have to grind it out of the saddle at 30 RPM. Starting to open up. Another 70 or so meters again to go. This is the last little relief before the top. Whew. Get the heart rate down a little more before this last push. All right. Look at all these cherry blossom petals. All right, this is definitely the last few switchbacks. That's the pass just up ahead. One, there's number two, and then the top. 2. Last push. Oh. Something's already up here. Konnichiwa. Oh, here's the top. All right. A quick look at the observation deck before heading down. Konnichiwa. 今日は暑いだね。Beautiful. All right. Whew. Oh. 気をつけて。All right. About what, 500 meters here? Just over 500 meters. There's the third climb. Time for the big descent. Woo! So yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's really good to just take these corners nice and gentle. Anticipate there could be a car, there could be another cyclist coming up. Make sure you can see completely around the corner before you cut in. The road is pretty narrow. But more often than not, you got the whole road to yourself, which is pretty cool. And just be careful on these grates, especially if it's wet. Oh, a couple riders up. Ohayou gozaimasu. Ohayo. The side I was going up earlier is definitely the steeper of the two sides. If you come up from this way, you get a nice gentle climb spread out over, I think, almost 15 kilometers, as opposed to kind of the whole thing in 2 or 3. Oh. Like I said, leave room for those cars. Still a little damp from yesterday. We had a little bit of an afternoon shower and some evening rain. Went out for a ride in the afternoon and started off nice and sunny, got poured on in the middle, and then rode home in sun and was basically dried off by the time I got home. That's why today I decided to head out a little bit earlier, avoid that chance. I love this backside of this road. Just flying through this forest. Check the mirrors. Watch this little bit of gravel, and here we go. Next stop, the Kiryu River, the Kiryu Dam, or Umeda Dam. Keep an eye out ahead. Looking good. See the carp flags up? They put up those carp flags for Children's Day. Usually one for each child. It's pretty cool. If you go to the bigger towns, to their parks, you'll see these huge collections of flags. And they'll hang them over the rivers a lot of times, because when you see the shadow hanging over the river, it actually looks like a fish swimming in the river. It's pretty cool. Ohayou gozaimasu. Oi! He was not looking. This is the little uphill here. So yeah, one nice thing about riding out in the countryside here is the low speed limits. The sign back there said 40, as in 40 kilometers an hour. Is in about 24 miles per hour. So it's not uncommon for the speed limits to be attainable by cyclists. And for the most part, the cars drive the speed limits out here, maybe 10 over. But yeah, with a speed limit of 40K an hour, it's nothing like being passed sometimes in the US by people who are going 50 miles per hour. Or about 100 kilometers an hour. And then they also tend to pass with a decent amount of room. I find the 1 meter or 3 feet rule that you usually hear is pretty well observed here. Of course, there's exceptions everywhere in the world, but definitely the average here follows, and that's really nice. Wow. Like I said, this route is one of the more popular ones in our area in both directions. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people out today on it with this great of weather. So yeah, Lake Umeda is pretty popular with the locals, especially on weekends and holidays. Maybe just 10 kilometers from the center of town, up the main river. It's a really great recreation area. Woo! Oi. All right, here's the downhill into town. Oh, looks like my GPS still hasn't found us. There we go. I like to take this little turn off the main road there. Although the main road can be fine to come back in, especially in the mornings, you tend to not see too many cars. There's a good number of lights on it, and I find the side road has a lot better scenery. It has a couple of rollers too on the way back, so you can put a couple little efforts in before you hit the river path and spin down. Also, there's some really cool sections of bamboo here on the sides of the road. Konnichiwa. A little bit of a headwind home. Here's some of that tall bamboo I was talking about. One. Two. Three. A little downhill. One more big roller. Like I said, people here drive very cautiously. This guy's going 10 under the speed limit. There he goes. All right. Ohayou gozaimasu. There he goes. It's a couple kilometers out from town. Now we're back on the river path home. Almost keeping up with him. He must be going the exact speed limit right now. Holding 40. He's not really losing him. with that headwind. Now you can hop on the river path from here. A lot of times I'll cross that bridge, but I feel like rolling in a little higher speeds a day. And usually on the river paths, you don't want to go that fast because there's lots of pedestrians. So I'm going to take the road in to about the last kilometer or two of river path. Car is huge for being out here. It's always weird when you see a full-size, American-sized car out here, SUV or a rare Hummer. I've actually seen some Hummers out here. I can't imagine driving it. But yeah, it's hard enough to drive the cars around here that are designed for these roads, narrower bodies and tighter turning radius, but I can only imagine driving like a full-size US SUV. There's definitely a lot of roads you just flat out could not drive. All right, 2 traffic lights to the river path. Hey, there we go. All right. So yeah, usually if I want to take it gentler into town, back home, I'll hop on the river path back there. It's like 2-3K back. But when I want to take it in quicker, I'll take this route here, up to this light, and hop on the river path just after this. So yeah, we're pretty much back into town. If I took a right here and kept following this road in, it'd go to the center road of town. But I'm just gonna hop on the river path and head back home from here. Just checking the batteries. All right. I gotta think about it for a sec, but 1, 2, 3, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just 3 traffic lights on this entire route. It's pretty awesome. Sumimasen. So yeah, these river paths can be pretty busy with pedestrians, especially on a nice day like this. It's just good to give them a heads up if you're coming on. Sumimasen. Right. Sumimasen. Konnichiwa. People are usually really good about bikes being around on the paths, but you don't want to sneak up on them either. It's really quiet here in Japan. Like compared to other places, there's a lot less ambient noise going on. So I find that people can be a bit startled at times if something sneaks up on them. You're not used to kind of a loud noise or a fast-moving thing coming by you. So just try to give a heads up if you're on these paths. Especially as a cyclist, a road cyclist, you can be going pretty fast for these paths. You know, most people are out for their morning walk and not expecting a bike to fly by them at 30 plus kilometers an hour. So just try to keep the speeds low and enjoy the scenery. I mean, it's fantastic. Some of the best views here are had on these river paths. Well, an hour 30 right there. 35 kilometers. Probably got another 289 meters of gain. I think that'll be our total ascent for the day. Another 2-3 kilometers in home. So just under 40K for the ride. Yeah, and it's our backyard loop. Fantastic weather out today. Really looking forward to getting home, working on some work with the windows open. It's always great. Oh, watch out for the little ones. Sumimasen. Nice and easy. Yeah, looking forward to one of my favorite parts of having a traditional Japanese house is how basically all the walls in the house can be opened. So when you have really nice weather like today, you can just open up all those big sliding doors. And I'm really happy that our house has the screens on it too, keep the bugs out. So we'll just open up all the doors, get some nice breeze coming through, fresh air. And yeah, it can feel kind of like you're working out in a pavilion almost. So looking forward to that, and hope you guys enjoyed watching the ride. Let me know what you thought. If you want me to do another one of these types of rides, a POV ride, maybe a longer one or just different routes in the area, I'm gonna end it right here because this is where we hop off into our neighborhood. Maybe get a little look back. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Tune in next time.